So this morning I came across this article and I just kind of wanted to talk about it because I found it so baffling. It's from the website interestingengineering.com and it's called US Humanoid Robots Retire with Scars After Helping Build 3,000 BMW Cars. And like right off the get, just from the title, I feel like you can kind of tell what the direction of this article is. It's a ride, and I'm gonna read a few parts from it and talk about my my opinions about it, I guess. Um, but like if yeah, I'll link the article and whatnot. But if you're curious about the overview, basically, um, the Figure AI is one of these companies that are making the humanoid, the robots that are shaped like people, and they had like an 11-month deployment of some of these robots in a BMW factory, and I just think it's really interesting how they word some of the things in here. The first paragraph, it's the decision comes after an 11-month deployment at BMW Factoring's Spartanburg, South Carolina plant. The the pilot project was part of a collaboration to test humanoid robots in a real assembly line. The company highlights that the F.02 units helped produce more than 30,000 BMW X3 vehicles and load over 90,000 sheet metal parts during their deployment. And that's kind of broken up in an interesting way, right? Because it starts off by saying that the units helped produce more than 30,000 BMW X3 vehicles, which, like, when you're just reading it, it sounds like, oh, these robots built 30,000 cars, but they helped build 30,000 cars. They were part of a process, and there's already robots and mechanics in the car building process. It's like automation and automotives are like this. So that's funny. And then, in the second part of the paragraph, it kind of gets into what it's really saying, which is that they loaded over 90,000 sheet metal parts during their deployment. So they like cut and moved metal. That's what these really important advances in robotics are doing right now. And they shared pictures of these robots, and yeah, like they have like like scars and dirt, or scars, if you want to call them that. They're scratched up, they're dinged up. They were in a mechanics shop for 11 months, and you know the they describe this as like real world deployments. And in one part it says the visuals serve as proof against earlier skepticism that Figure's work at BMW was only small scale. Uh, the grime and scratches became a badge of honor. They show the robots endure it. They show the robots endured the repetitive and demanding nature of factory work. The company said the visuals and performance metrics together validate their claims of long-term deployment. And there's this like real world deployment, and then the grime and scratches in the dirt are badges of honor of how these robots who worked for less than a year in a factory, it's like proof of their incredible talent, or like the reason we should be using them. And all I can think of is like that this is not in any way how we talk about human fact. There's no articles like this that are like, oh, 10 people worked at this factory for 11 months and here's the amazing things they did. And look at how dirty they are, and look at how one of them, like got arthritis in the process. Um, they talk a little bit about the data and like, the performance of the robots or whatever. Um, but this is the next part that I found so ridiculous. The robotics firm was also transparent about hardware challenges during the deployment. The forearm emerged as the main failure point during the complexity of packaging 3 degrees of freedom, thermal management, and cabling into a human-sized limb. So like the hardest part of doing this was that they had all of these mechanical and technical elements that they had to fit into something like this big. Um, so make the arm bigger. Why does it have to be a human-sized arm? Like this hang up on the humanoid factor of these robots, and it's like so weird and sickening and like parasocial almost, where these people are going through unnecessary challenges to fit, all of these pieces into something. Frankenstein is as big, Frankenstein's monster, the wretch, is as big as he is because Frankenstein needed to use like pig and, animal parts because the arms to like fill up the body because the veins needed to be big because it was too hard to do small human veins. And it's like, why have a team of engineers focus on that when you could just make something that is an arm? Just make an arm. Don't make a body. Why does it need to have a body? Just make an arm and a fucking scooter. That's basically what these things are, it sounds like. Um, and again, like there's, the challenges of the repeated motions of these arms and like how that created the most wear on the robot, and how interesting is that? And I'm like, and it's like, that's repetitive motion injuries. These are all just human experiences that we're like marveling at being able to mimic with a machine. And it seems like there's no real, there's no, what is that really doing for anyone if these robots are just existing to like mimic our own flaws and kind of, move things around or whatever. Yeah, it just seems ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I had to say. Thanks.